The Adventures of Gront from Brooklyn and His Friends by Leonid Etkin. Story 1. The Shrinkdown. The city was a cheese grater on the eyes and brain, as Gront drove Dinowal through the busy streets, slithering with caffeinated masses of people. In this outdoor prison of lines and angles, the ironically named Freedom Tower vanished into the fog, like the aspirations of naive young people who fled their boring hometowns in pursuit of success, excitement, and the scent of adventure, only to have their hopes gobbled up by the concrete as if still freshly wet, over-dilute to an extent where for decades it remains a never-quite-settled quicksand. Gront himself was an amicable fellow, an American through and through, muscularly Jewish, culturally Italian, via having grown up in Brooklyn. Forearms of a simian creature, but the personality of a charismatic, fun-loving, cool middle school teacher. Joyous, jovial, sanguine, and an all-around mensch. He'd look you in the eye, shake you by the hand, and tell you all about his favorite pizza place, and how impressed he is with you. Absolute man of the people. And now, together, they were driving to his place of work. Some days it could be a library, other times a prison, but today it was a school. For Gront's job description was installing and replacing phone systems. And he was the perfect man for this job. I mean, who else but this Coney Island-bred guy could navigate the social intricacies of people both big and small, both public and private sectored? Why, Gront was probably nursed from the teats of Fiorello LaGuardia and Ed Koch themselves, all while in the front row seat of the Cyclone roller coaster, eh? Gront now spoke.
What's this gray, unfinished cement building? Looks like a freaking tombstone.
Dinowal retorted,
I'm willing to bet it's a Holocaust museum.
Oh, yeah? How do you know that?
They just always design these memorials all over the world to be like this.
I guess it makes sense. To give people this hopeless feeling of being trapped and surrounded by... Oh, wait, is this a new Terminator movie coming out?
Gront had a tendency to get distracted easily, especially when something novel moved into his field of vision. As growing up in this city has a profound effect on the formation of attention and interest circuits in the brain. And in the present case, this took the form of a billboard on the side of a bus, which somehow overtook them on the right lane, with a full-color poster on its side, featuring aged actors who needed the money, allowing their beloved characters to be besmirched on screen for sizable dollar signs.
So what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. This school we're about to pull up to is still operating on old bronze telegraph cable. Z34 specs at 11 gauge. Very thick, heavy, cumbersome little buggers. Luckily, it isn't my job to move these. I'll just be mapping the current system and making suggestions on how to upgrade. We'll finally be moving this particular institution into the copper age, my friend.
Gront had a slight smile on his face spring up as he talked all this techie talk. Dinowal concurred along. Gront pulled a crazy maneuver to grab a spot right in front of the building before it could be acquired by some jerk in a red Prius with diplomatic plates. A perfect steal. Before they even ventured into the building, Brooklyn's Gront was already working his magic, fist-bumping the security guards and lunch ladies and hallway monitors. With the receptionist, he flirt-bypassed his way out of having to go through the metal detectors on their way up the stairs, caked with decades of viscous, pungent paint over paint. Gront could have easily gotten the phone numbers of every art and English lit lady teacher if he wanted to. But he had his appetite set on relay switches, the true locus of his passions. For he could spend a whole evening soldering a circuit, then call up a supermodel who's patiently awaiting her turn to be Gront's whim of the moment, even if that moment shall she spend listening to him describing his favorite keyboard layouts. When they made it to the fourth-floor landing, just before opening the double doors leading to the hallway, Gront paused.
All right, now, if anyone asks, you work for Custard.
Custard?
Yeah, Custard Telecommunications. That's the name of the company I work for. Just tell them you got hired last week. They'll leave you alone.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. They never check. There are new guys coming and going every day. I can just tell them I'm training you. All right, now let's go. Hold this clipboard and tape measure. You'll look extra professional like this.
As they entered the hallway, they were greeted by all sorts of uplifting and inspirational posters, which propelled Dinowell's mind directly into a buried and paved-over well of long, unperturbed memories. The posters of his own elementary and middle school days, like "Shoot for the Moon," and "Even if you miss, you will land among the stars." And success comes to those 1% inspired who are too busy to be... No, that wasn't it. He was conflating something with something else. But the point remained still the same. Right in front of him was a laminated poster which read, "Be accepting of those different from you. Do not bully them," in beautifully playful lettering. At the end of said hallway, a different from others child was being bullied, viciously. They, the bigger kids, were pushing him around with a balled-up piece of poster filling his mouth. Part of that poster unfurled from within his gullet, from all that jostling, and was now hanging outside, with just the word "equity" readable enough on it, all in this cute, italic, Comic Sans font.
Should we do something about this?
Nah, I just ignore them all. Don't even look in their direction. We need to head for the ITX Interchange TIC room anyway.
You mean the, telephonic...
Interconnect Center. Oh, very good. You're learning quickly, Dinowell.
As they proceeded to the slightly ajar door at the end of the hallway following a sharp left turn, Dinowell looked over his shoulder. He breathed a sigh of relief as a teacher appeared to sternly approach the cruel hooligans. This individual, however, was wearing a mask, with anemic and jaundiced-looking eyes, poking out from underneath the face, covering with a rainbow painted on it. Therefore, he, she, they yanked the word "equity" right from the boy's mouth, only to glue it back onto the desecrated poster on the wall behind him. Shaking his head from side to side, as if trying to peel away the grotesque scene from his retinas, before it absorbs fully into his subconscious through his optic nerve, Dinowell followed Gront into the little room, barely cramming himself in between a wall and a menacing cabinet of dusty wires and blinking lights.
See this? That's the ITX interchange. It plugs into the patch panel through a series of jumper cables.
Dinowell wasn't listening, for the scene from the hallway, despite his best efforts, landed. It embedded itself into his mind and took him back into days already lived, suffered through, and thought to have left behind. What's more, it took him back into days and scenarios he once thought he might live through, anxiously lying awake the night before, anticipating the very worst, or thinking back, imagining what could have been had the worst really come to fruition, as his overactive imagination might have delivered. Dinowell shook his head violently still, but the thoughts just kept on coming. It's still there. It is all still there, right where I left it, in some dusty corner of my brain, waiting to be dusted off and undergo full restoration. The fear, the anger, the unrelenting paranoia and anxiety, and the unquenchable urge to drown it all out by any means necessary, thought he. Would I be forever destined to...
Do you think koala bears find each other sexy?
Asked Gront, jolting his little apprentice out of his ruminative stupor.
What?
I mean, koala bears, you know, I find them cute and furry, but I wouldn't exactly want to mate with one. So, do they find each other attractive? Are they seriously aroused and made horny by one another?
Half-heartedly continued the small talk Gront as he dug through the cables, coughing from the dust, and occasionally typed something into his little terminal screen.
That's a very valid question, Gront. Very good. I'll have to think about it.
Dinowell was happy that Gront had this talent to pull people from out their own heads and back into the real world, to refocus their attentions on things that actually matter, that are actually salient at the present moment we're all living in. The rest of their stay at public school, IS 404, went smoothly. Grunt chatted with a friendly, stocky co-worker on the spectrum about different phone models and technologies over the years. Dinowell got a free tour of the cafeteria, since it needed a new intercom system and digital punch clocks with the scents of chocolate milk, wet baby carrots and vanilla pudding past its expiration date filling the air, wafting in a surprising sense of nostalgia. Grant took some pictures, jotted down some notes, drew a few diagrams, and oof, they went. Dinowell ran down the stairs, skipping over every other step, and jumping over the last 3 or 4, as he did back in his own school days. Dinowell made his way down to the fire escape exit door first, kicking open its push bar. Towards the end of the heavy door's trajectory, he felt some resistance and heard a thud. A black gentleman, wearing wide and saggy trousers and a do-rag on his head, was picking himself up off the sidewalk, elbows covered in ashy scuffs. The gentleman stood back up, stumbled towards Dinowell, and spoke.
Nigga, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now, my nigga? Are you kidding me, cracker-ass nigga?
I'm very sorry. I didn't know you were on the other side of this heavy door. I'm really very sorry.
No, we're not kidding you, big guy. You brazen city slicker, you.
Are you trying to start something?
No, believe me, I'm just trying to apologize.
Yeah, we're trying to start something.
As Grant rolled up his sleeves,
Are you ready to spar over this, big guy? Are you ready to start throwing hands?
the black gentleman lunged at Dinowell, throwing him off balance, landing him with his shoulder blade right onto a fire hydrant. Grant then tore off the gent's do-rag and yanked him by now unfurled dreadlocks. He pulled at the dreads hard, did a turn, and lifted the 6'4" black gentleman clear off the ground, leveraging off his own shoulder in a judo-like move. To Dinowell's disbelief, Grant now apparently summoned his full Ashkenazi chimpanzee strength to spin this resident New Yorker like a propeller. The coconut butter and lotion flung off the tips of the African-American gentleman's dreadlocks, now fully retracted from the wind and centrifugal force of the rapid spin. The entire city block beheld this urban garden sprinkler of white-on-black violence, with 3 particular men observing the whole display wide-eyed from a short distance away. The first of them was none other than Al Sharpton in the splash zone. After setting the guy back down gently onto the storefront window of Sal's Pizzeria, Grant glanced across the street. Just his luck. Chubby and mustachioed again, Sharpton was accompanied by Jesse Jackson and Louis Farrakhan. All 3 just happened to be hanging out together, each with a slice of pizza. As they beheld this modern-day recreation of Michael Brown, George Floyd, and Rodney King spliced into a single action, they began to drool. They then slowly headed towards Grant and Dinowell. Reverend Al Sharpton led the way. He needed the attention most of all, like Scarecrow needed Dorothy to miss him. Dinowell screamed out, grabbing Grant by the shoulder.
Run!
And they both did, away from Sin and Sharpton, and his squad of race-baiting grifter goblins, right back to the car.
How is this possible?
This city, how it is.
No! I don't know. This doesn't explain anything. None of this makes any sense. Isn't Minister Farrakhan dead? And I didn't realize Sharpton was still alive?
I wasn't sure either. Either way, they should be.
He shrugged his shoulder as he buckled himself into the driver's seat, then speeded off, with the BLM grifty-grift Magoons disappearing behind them into the horizon, along with fire hydrants, other trash, yellow cabs, storefronts for pawn shops and flower shops, Uber TLC license plates, cat-sized rats, scattered used needles, black dudes scalping Met Opera tickets, bodegas, corner stores with their South Asian owners with a mixed accent of Pakistani, Brooklyn, Italian, Jewish, Chinese, Yiddish, Spanish, standing outside, smoking menthols and Newports, scattered pieces of Lux bagels and piles of torn-up Munimeter tickets and expired Metro cards and other city scum and refuse rolling into the next dredged-up dregs of Manhattan ahead of them.
Phew, that was a close one, huh?
Oof, you don't say, man. I'd say, yo, you, sorry, I'm trying to, whoop, oof, trying to catch my breath.
Apparently Dinowell sounded like this whenever he was trying to catch his breath. Within a few blocks, they were already stuck again, stranded among other cars. After missing 3 entire green lights, Gront rolled down his window and whistled to the firefighter, slantly parked to the left of him.
Hey, what's going on here?
Oh, I don't know. Some broad is being taken to the hospital. She swallowed a chewing gum too many, and it clogged up her stomach and her tubes.
Gront raised his eyebrows.
Really? Juicy fruit?
Nah. Big League Chew, a whole pound of it is being pumped from her stomach as we speak. Apparently.
I thought that was an urban legend about the gum staying in your stomach for 7 years.
Yeah, I thought so too. Urban legend a myth with. Urban legend or some kind of myth. By the way, why is you guys sitting in the back of your car?
Oh.
Gront giggled a tad.
Oh, you know, he drew the short stick. Oh, how about your ladder guy? Why is he sitting in the back?
He's got Asperger's.
They both nodded in mutual understanding and respect. Then Gront proceeded to just make it through the amber light. Walking together later that day, Gront and Dinowell met up with their mutual friend and brother, Orkody. The conversation took a philosophical turn, as it often did whenever great minds like these 3 come together.
If you, hypothetically speaking, of course, had to make a choice between always having diarrhea or being permanently constipated, which would you go with?
Let's see.
He rubbed his chin.
That's a great question, man. Being in constant pain versus having to run and change underwear all the time.
Well, with diarrhea, at least something comes out.
Looking into mathematics and philosophy, I would say Gödel and Spinoza would choose diarrhea, as opposed to men like Schopenhauer, Bertrand Russell, and Leibniz, who would likely postulate constipation as the favorable choice.
Orkody chimed in, while Gront and Dinowell rubbed their respective chins pensively.
Hey, I've got an idea. Maybe if we rubbed each other's chins instead, we would be better at thinking. Like your brother Orkody.
Even neglecting matrices and topology for a moment. I would know what I'm talking about. I've pretty much had diarrhea nonstop once for a difficult period in my life after taking freaking antibiotics. It's not all it's cracked up to be, believe me.
Preach, brother. I was taking antibiotics after having my wisdom tooth extracted, back when I was driving yellow cab. I almost exploded by the time I pulled up to Tavern by the Green's public bathroom. In fact, I did exactly that, explode, as soon as I entered the handicapped stall. And the gap was so wide that a tourist looked directly through it and into my eyes and soul as I was unleashing my torrent.
All 3 men nodded their heads, then bowed them in reflective silence. The wind was refreshing, walking down Ocean Parkway, despite all the honking cars and crowds of Orthodox Jews and Russians and Indians and Uzbekis.
Hey, Grunt, isn't this your mother walking over there?
Yes. Yes. Why, she is walking here. Hey, Ma. Why, she is walking here. Hey, Ma. Ma. What are you doing out here? And isn't this your guys' mother, too, walking next to my mama? They're walking together. What the?
Dinowell suddenly experienced a tingling sense of danger, foreshadowing something awful.
No, Gront or Cody. Guys, don't step on this crack in the pavement. No!
It was too late. Suddenly, both mothers doubled over in pain, screaming in sheer agony as their backs cracked as audibly as lobster shells at a Florida-Boston lobster buffet full of overfed, oversaturated Americans. The fat, hairy, greedy fingers of a banker/stockbroker, splitting open its betortured limbs and exoskeleton. As Dinowell rode along with the poor, suffering mothers in the ambulance, Gront, tailgating in his Volkswagen not far behind, they both couldn't help but notice the sheer chaos ruling the city at this point. Boogeymen were standing at each traffic light, angry parents screaming at seemingly everybody for being in major, big trouble. Out of nowhere, the ambulance driver stopped the vehicle dead in its tracks. Dinowell shouted at the little driver's cabin window.
What's going on, man? Are you freaking crazy? My mother's in need of urgent medical attention. Why'd you stop?
I'm so sorry, buddy. My mother just called me. I'm grounded for doing poorly at work.
He choked up.
I'm grounded for doing poorly at work.
Dinowell's face twitched with exasperation as he flung his arms in a fit of spastic befuddlement.
What in the Ghostbusters is going on here? Grunt? What did you do? Grunt!
Dinowell yelled as he picked both mothers up on his shoulders and kicked open the rear ambulance doors, then kicked the bumper of Gront's stopped car.
What is your problem, man? Why the hell do you think I might have done
Gront suddenly rubbed his chin as he fell silent, his eyes darting about, as if his mind's little computer were suddenly calculating something important.
What is it, Grunt? What is it, Grunt? You better not be thinking about keyboards, electronic typewriters, or synthesizers right now.
Gront, still rubbing his chin vigorously, eyes still darting around wildly.
No, I'm not. Let me think about this. If the ITX was connected to the...
He mumbled.
And the intercoax cable. Drop our moms in the back seat, please. Let's drop them off, then go back for a second.
Holy. Grunt, are you telling me it could be something you did with the wiring which could be causing all this?
I mean, I highly doubt it, but yeah, it's definitely a long shot. But hell, let's try anyway, no?
Grunt looked intently, with a serious frown, and Dinowell frowned and stared right back at him for what seemed a minute, like two men on the subway, both reluctant to give up their seat to an elderly, geriatrically pregnant lady, both waiting for the other's nerves to relent first. Then they did a little eyebrow raise and a shoulder shrug as they understood what had to be done. Dinowell passed Gront's mother back to him. The entire time she was screaming, "Let me go! I want to go home! I don't feel good!" But she was reassured the nice doctors at Coney Island Hospital would take good care of her. Gront raced through red lights to reach the school before closing time, knowing full well they'd be willing to break in through a lunchroom window if they needed to do so, to debug this new normal going on with the world. A few short blocks before their destination, Gront and Dinowell were suddenly accosted by a double-parked car. It moved onto the center of the road as if to deliberately block them. Gront honked with all his might, but the little hybrid clown car, instead of ceding the way, turned on its blinking hazard lights, and the driver's side door swung open.
Holy shiest, red Prius. With diplomatic plates.
Oh, wait, so what?
It's, it's the car you stole the parking spot from earlier.
By the school?
By the school.
Oh, holy shite.
Yes, oh shit.
Wait a second. Who's that coming out of the car? No, it cannot be.
Oh, but it was. It was the dreadlocked gentleman from before, with bandages on his arms and bruises still glistening on his ebony cheeks and forehead.
Oh, it's Dreadlock's guy.
He said, in an angrily delighted voice, and aggressively chuckled.
It's Dreadlock's guy.
Oh, holy shit!
Before Gront could finish his thought, Dreadlock's guy approached him.
Give me one good reason I shouldn't kick both your asses with this gun I've got.
Spoke the gentleman as he pulled out the gun he's got. A shiny silver 9mm Beretta M9.
Yeah, I've got a reason or two for you, you United Nations overflow drag.
No! No, Grunt, stop! Dreadlock's guy, stop! I think I do have a reason, Dreadlock's guy. Did you have a strange day today?
Say what?
I mean, did you have a weird day today? Maybe something that reminded you? That reminded you of your childhood?
Dreadlock's guy lowered his guard and pistol slightly.
Well, now that you mention it, yes. Yeah, definitely. My name is Steve, and not Dreadlock's guy. And yes, I did have a weird-ass day, man.
He sighed deeply.
In what respect?
In what respect?
Steve sighed even deeper.
Sigh. Well, other than getting my ass kicked by this random-ass white dude, like I used to get daily when I was being bused to a majority white school by a stupid government program back in the day. My mother just called me. My mother just called me. He told me she's in the hospital from eating too much paper.
Loose leaf?
Nah, graph paper mostly. Like the ones we used to draw curves on in MQ1 through MQ3 in Math A and B. She ate that, and also has a broken back, and told me I was grounded for a week. I'm a 37-year-old man, mind you, and you caught me on my way home to actually listen to her and be a good boy. Let's see. Other than that, I was shot at by a spitball, by a crossing guard, called the N-word by a white boogeyman, at a traffic light. Got cooties from the lady diplomat from Barbados, made a face, and now it's stuck like this, then got shot in the arm in a drive-by shooting. They said my uncle sent them. It was punishment for me being home 7 minutes late the other day. Oh, you know, just the usual. Every day. New York City bullshit.
Gront and Dinowell exchanged glances.
I believe we can solve all these problems.
Dinowell tried to say the preceding phrase to instill confidence, but it came out with the inflection of a question instead.
Well, get the F out of here.
No, he's right. We can solve our problems, but we will need to cooperate.
You better not be trying to screw with my tired head right now.
We're not. I'm in telecommunications. I plugged in a cable into the wrong port.
You're a communications major and plugged in a wire into the wrong receptacle, my man.
Gront and Dinowell both nodded their heads. Steve rubbed his eyelids and forehead for quite a minute. He couldn't even...
Then why didn't you freaking say so right away? Let me provide you with a diplomatic escort, my man.
Steve swiftly took out a police siren-looking bulb out of the passenger seat of his little red Prius and magnetically snapped it atop the car. He pressed something, and the bulb broke out in blue and red light flashes along with a blaring siren.
Let's go, boys. We have a country to raise.
They were by the school again within 4 minutes. Dinowell jiggled the front gate handle.
It's locked, damn it!
They both looked at Steve, awkwardly furrowing their brows and twiddling their thumbs.
Damn you both, gentlemen. I'm a diplomat, not a burglar.
Steve then took out his little kit for break-ins out of his back pocket, muttering grumpily,
I did. I did freaking. 14 years of school, eh? For this.
all the while digging in the keyhole.
Went to frickin' NYU. Then Columbia Law School, then my freaking dental insurance is MetLife PPO. PDP plus. And these two mofos be thinking I'm some kind of...
Here, let me try to help you out.
As Gront took out a little version of a burglary kit of his own from within his own jeans back pocket. Working as a team, they broke in through the junior high school's front gate. But realizing there's another even heavier door inside, they proceeded to pick up a municipal waste bin right off of 14th Street and hurl it through the lunchroom windows, much like Mookie did through the storefront of Sal's Pizzeria in some Spike Lee movie. They all shook hands and high-fived.
Okay, Steve, now please help me set this place on fire.
What?
Steve and Dinowell ejaculated simultaneously.
Oh, sorry, folks, I was thinking of something else for a second. Anyway, let's go back up into the ITX interchange room.
Dinowell and Steve gave Gront a quick thumbs up, and in they climbed. Stumbling past folded-up lunch tables and chairs in the now dark, hallowed hallways of the school, they turned on the flashlights on their pocket phones to see where they were going.
What is it? Are you okay, Steve, buddy?
Sorry, I just shone my phone light on one of these posters they used to brainwash us kids back at my school. This one is about diversity and inclusivity. There was this one poor little Asian freshman the older kids always force-fed. Basically this exact poster. Only the graphics are now updated. They would usually dunk his head in the toilet after.
Shit, fuck. I'm sorry you went through all this traumatizing crap, man. You must have been a sensitive kid.
Gront tried to comfort Steve by squeezing his shoulder, but they both saw Dinowell might be in even greater need for reassurance right then, as tears began to roll down his face. At the ITX booth, Gront searched frantically for the correct cable. He had a device to assist him, a blinking, beeping probe of sorts. After an excruciatingly tense 9 minutes, Gront gasped. He pointed his hand and entire body like a hunting dog in the direction of one lonely little RJ-45 wall receptacle, labeled simply, Wide Area Network. It had a cable sticking out of it, traceable to the huge, dusty cabinet full of patch panels and cable spaghetti.
You mean you plugged the entire school into this?
Gront nodded his head guiltily and did the one-handed Italian acknowledgement and resignation gesture.
Ideally, this port shouldn't have even been here, or at least duct taped over or something. The dangers of plugging a school's internal system out into the wider world have long been speculated, but there was never a documented case in history of that happening before. Unless...
Unless what?
Yeah, never mind. Just a fleeting silly thought I had.
And he at once unplugged the cable from the Wide Area Network port, with a light pinch of his fingernails. On their way downstairs, everyone felt somehow maturer.
Maybe I should stop and try to understand people a little better.
Maybe I should stop always feeling like a victim and call my mother to apologize for forgetting to send her flowers for Mother's Day.
Maybe I should just call my dad, make peace with him, take accountability, and start working on building my own family. Or some crap like that.
Or some crap like that.
Or some crap like that.
On their drive home, Gront and Dinowell were silent for a long time. Dinowell broke the silence as they traversed the Brooklyn Bridge, exiting on the right lane towards the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway.
You got Steve's number, right, Gront?
Yeah, just in case. I figured, why not?
Do you think we will see him again sometime, or nah?
Hopefully. I offered him to join us see a movie sometimes. Maybe American Fiction, or The Menu, or The Whale, or Nosferatu, at the Fulton Alamo Draft House. The food is really good there.
True. I love their pizzas and mint green parrot drinks.
Yeah, great stuff. Breaks up the daily monotony of life.
They both nodded and rocked back and forth. Dinowell asked after another long pause.
So do you really think this sort of thing happened before?
Gront slightly pursed his lips and subtly leaned his head forward and squinted his eyes a bit.
Probably.
So, do you think that whenever a politician throws a tantrum,
Or an actor steals a microphone from someone on stage,
or when parents childishly take something their son or daughter says to them too personally and let it hurt their feelings,
or whenever a philosopher, scientist, or prime minister of a country or judge in a court has an infantile moment where, oh wait, are they remaking the RoboCop movie once again?
As a bus overtook them on the left lane with a shiny new Technicolor billboard. Thank you for listening to the first story from Leonid Etkin Theater's series.
Tonight, I mustn't think of
The preceding tale was based on real life and lived events. However, any resemblance of characters to real, fictional, or historical ones was purely coincidental. If not, then it's quite likely deliberate.
So, Mr. Leader, play your lilting melody.
Any reproduction is allowed. I don't see why not, or what this big hang-up is. We hope you enjoyed this selection, and we wish you best of health, and have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on the time you happen to have been listening to this. Thank you again. May 16th, 2024. Leo signing out. Cheers.
And she danced so divinely, and I loved her so. But there I go tonight. I mustn't think of her no more. Memories swing out tonight. I must forget music, maestro, please. And I loved her so, but there I go tonight. I mustn't think of her